Anna watched the luggage in the car trunk with a mix of relief and melancholy. The memories of her marriage to Richard were still fresh, but there was something in the air of this new city, something she couldn't name, that sparked a glimmer of hope within her. The divorce had been devastating. She had devoted 2 decades of her life to that man, who, unbeknownst to her, had been living a double life. When Anna discovered Richard's affair, it felt as if her world had crumbled. Yet now, as she stepped into this new place, she felt different. The city was small and inviting, with cobblestone streets and colorful houses that looked like they had come straight from a postcard. The distant sound of church bells brought a sense of peace, but at the same time a void. It was the beginning of something new, yet also an echo of a life that no longer existed. She rented a simple house in the center, providing her with the solitude necessary to reflect on what lay ahead. For the first time, Anna was alone. The initial days were filled with silence and a lack of direction. What could a 45-year-old, newly divorced woman do in a new city where she didn't know anyone? She asked herself this every morning while preparing a cup of coffee that cooled unnoticed. One day, as she walked through the narrow streets in search of something to fill her free hours, she stumbled upon an art studio. The simple yet inviting facade caught her attention. Without thinking much, Anna stepped inside. "Can I help you?" a calm voice asked. She looked up and saw a man in his 50s, his face weathered but with a youthful spark in his eyes. He wore paint-splattered clothes, and his hands bore the same rough texture as the brushes. "I was just looking," she replied hesitantly. "Feel free. This space is more about feeling than seeing," he said with a smile, returning to his canvases. Anna approached one of the paintings. It was a landscape that seemed to be in motion. The way the sky blended with the sea brought forth a feeling she hadn't experienced in years, a long-buried passion for painting. When she was younger, before Richard, Anna used to paint. But that passion had been forgotten somewhere in the corners of her life as she dedicated herself entirely to marriage and family routine. "Do you paint?" the man asked, as if reading her thoughts. Anna shook her head, shyly. "I used to, it's been so long." "It's never too late to start again," he said, moving closer with a blank canvas and extending a brush toward her. "I'm David, by the way," he added with a smile as Anna hesitated. She looked at the brush for a few seconds before taking it. It was as if a part of her, buried for years, began to emerge slowly. As she touched the brush, she felt a flutter in her stomach. Perhaps she could start anew. It was strange how something so simple as holding a brush could bring back so many memories. Her hand trembled slightly, but David encouraged her. "Don't think too much. Just let it flow." And she did. Her first strokes were uncertain and awkward. The fear of failing still lingered over her, but as time passed, Anna began to relax. Thoughts of Richard and what she had lost gave way to the feeling of freedom in creating something new. For a few hours, she forgot her pain and allowed herself to simply be. When she finally finished, she looked at the canvas and was surprised. It wasn't a masterpiece, but it was hers. And for the first time in a long while, she felt proud of herself. "Not bad for a fresh start," David commented, observing her painting with approval. Anna smiled shyly. "I don't even know why I'm doing this," she confessed. "Maybe because you need to," he replied, leaving her with her thoughts. In the following days, Anna returned to the studio regularly. She and David didn't talk much, but his quiet company brought her comfort. David was the type of person who spoke more through his art than with words, and Anna found herself drawn to that simplicity. In a world where everything seemed to be falling apart, there was something incredibly soothing about losing herself in colors and shapes. However, like all phases of life, this one would also be interrupted. As Anna began to feel a new life blossoming within her, a familiar name would pull her back to the painful reality she was trying to leave behind: Richard. She learned from a mutual acquaintance that he had also moved to this city.
Why?
The question echoed in her mind. Was it coincidence or something more? She still didn't know, but suddenly, everything she had built in her mind felt threatened. Anna looked at the city around her. Was she ready to start over? Or would Richard be a shadow she couldn't escape? In the following days, Richard's return to Anna's life became more than just a troubling thought. He was really in the city. It felt as if the universe were conspiring against her, bringing back everything she had fought so hard to overcome. The news arrived subtly through an old friend of the couple who recognized her on the street. The impact was immediate. Anna felt her heart race, her hands sweat, and for a moment, everything around her became hazy. Why did he have to be here? She had chosen this city precisely for its distance from her past, for the promise of a fresh start. And now, Richard was there, like a shadow that refused to fade away. Why would he come to such a distant place? She tried to rationalize, but nothing made sense. Was he trying to start over too? Or, worse, was he trying to reconnect with her? David noticed the weight in Anna's expression as soon as she entered the studio. "Something's wrong," he remarked bluntly, watching her with concerned eyes as he mixed paints with slow movements. Anna shook her head, trying to hide the whirlwind of emotions she felt, but when she opened her mouth to respond, everything spilled out. "Richard is here," she said, the name escaping her lips with more pain than she wished. David didn't say anything right away. He set down the brush and moved closer, crossing his arms. "What are you going to do about it?" The question seemed simple, but it left her unsettled. What could she do? "I don't know," she confessed. "I spent so much time trying to heal, to start over. And now he's here. It feels like everything is about to crumble again." "Do you think he came for you?" David asked, maintaining his calm. Anna stared at him, confused. "I don't know. Maybe it's just a coincidence, but part of me thinks not." She took a deep breath, trying to organize her thoughts. What if he wants to reconnect? What if? Her words faded away, replaced by an uncomfortable silence. David was silent for a moment, as if weighing his next words. Then, his voice came out firm, yet gentle. "Anna, this is about you. Not him. If he's here, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let him control your emotions again? Or are you finally going to break free?" Those words pierced her mind like an arrow. David was right. Since the divorce, all Anna had done was react to Richard's actions. When he betrayed her, she suffered. When he left the house, she sank into pain. And now he was back, but that didn't mean she had to return to who she was before. She had a choice. However, Anna realized she needed to confront Richard, but the weight of that meeting tormented her. Still, she couldn't continue hiding. That night, after hours of insomnia, she decided she would meet him the next day. She woke up early, had a strong coffee, and rehearsed what she would say. But when she saw him there, sitting at a table in a cafe near the central square, the speech she had planned dissolved. Richard looked familiar yet strange, like a ghost from another life. "Anna," he said, standing up when he saw her, a hesitant smile on his face. "I'm glad you came." She sat down without returning his smile. "What are you doing here, Richard?" Her voice came out firm, surprising even herself. He sighed and looked down, as if he had been expecting that question. "I needed to see you. I needed to try to understand what happened between us. What I did. What you did." Anna repeated, incredulous. "You destroyed what we had. There's no way to understand that." "I know," he said, with a tone of genuine regret. "But since the divorce, I've felt empty. I thought a new city could help me start over, and then I found out you were here. I had to see you." Richard's justification seemed vague, but something in his eyes conveyed sincerity. The Anna of before would have given in to that, but the Anna of now was wounded and exhausted from being manipulated by his words. "Do you think I don't feel empty too, Richard? That I didn't have to rebuild myself alone, far from everything and everyone I knew? You made your choices, and I suffered for them. Now I'm trying to heal." The words came out with a firmness that surprised her. Richard looked disarmed, and a shadow of sadness crossed his face. "I understand if you don't want anything to do with me. I know I ruined everything and lost you. I just wanted you to know that I'm willing to fix things if you give me a chance." Anna felt a pang of anger and disbelief. Fix things? As if it were something simple, as if the years of their marriage could be repaired with an apology. "I don't know if I want that, Richard," she murmured, and for the first time, she realized how true those words were. Here, for the first time in a long time, I'm rediscovering who I am. She stood up, ready to leave, but then paused and faced him. You should try to do the same. For both of us. As she walked away, she felt a strange lightness, as if something was finally unraveling inside her. But at the same time, she knew that this confrontation was just the beginning. Back at the studio, David was waiting for her. He looked at her with a serene expression, as if he understood exactly what she had just faced. And then he asked. I confronted the past, Anna said, trying to smile but feeling the emotions still close to the surface. I think I still need to find some answers, but I feel like now I can leave it behind. David nodded. Sometimes we need to face our ghosts to truly free ourselves from them. That day, she immersed herself in painting like never before. Each brushstroke felt like an answer, a line of a new path she was building for herself. David encouraged her to lose herself in the colors, and she realized that painting, once forgotten, was now becoming a powerful language, a way to reconnect with her own voice. When she finished, Anna looked at the canvas, which captured the colors of dawn, the beginning of something new. She knew Richard was still nearby, but now he was no longer the central figure in her life. The unexpected meeting with him brought her clarity, but there was still much to explore. What did this new feeling beside David mean? In the following days, Anna felt a weight lifting off her shoulders. Confronting Richard had been painful, but at the same time, it was liberating. For the first time, she could think of herself without him occupying her thoughts. Now, there was something else there, a desire that grew each time she was beside David, who seemed to understand her pain without questioning it. However, Anna knew this relationship was something new and different, and she wondered what it really meant. Was it friendship or something more? David, with his calm presence and pointed words, continued to encourage her. One afternoon, as they painted together, he invited her to an exhibition at a local gallery. It'll be a great opportunity for you to see what other artists are doing, he said, a gentle smile on his face. Who knows? Maybe you'll find even more inspiration? Anna accepted the invitation. She was curious to explore David's world outside the studio, to discover how he interacted with other artists, and perhaps learn more about the mysterious man who inspired her so much. She wondered what lay behind those deep eyes and calloused hands, shaped by so many paintings. On the night of the exhibition, Anna prepared herself with an excitement she hadn't felt in years. She chose a simple yet elegant black dress and a subtle red lipstick. Looking in the mirror, she was surprised to see someone confident looking back at her. When David arrived to pick her up, he smiled, visibly impressed. You look beautiful, Anna, he said, with a sparkle in his eyes that made her feel an unexpected warmth. The gallery was bustling. It seemed like the entire town was there, amidst the colorful paintings and soft lights. David introduced Anna to other artists, friends, and acquaintances who, unlike Richard and his social circles, made her feel welcomed. She realized this was a world where she could express herself, where life stories were told in shapes and colors, not in empty words. As they admired an abstract canvas, Anna felt David's presence beside her, and for a moment, the surrounding environment seemed to fade away. It was as if only the two of them existed, silently sharing something that didn't even need words. I've never felt this way before, Anna confessed, almost in a whisper. David looked at her with a light smile and gently touched her hand. Because you're beginning to discover who you really are, Anna. This is just the beginning. The touch was brief, but loaded with meanings Anna didn't dare explore in that moment. As much as she wanted to lose herself in it, her recent past still haunted her, and she knew she needed to resolve her own feelings before allowing someone else into her life. Still, the connection between them felt inevitable. After the exhibition, David walked her home. Thank you for taking me, she said hesitantly, looking at him with a mix of gratitude and uncertainty that was beginning to fade. It was my pleasure, he replied. You belong in this world, Anna. Never let anyone make you think otherwise. His words struck deep. As David said goodbye, she stood at the door, watching him walk away into the dark street. Even after he disappeared from sight, Anna remained there, feeling that something inside her had changed. There was a new possibility, a flame ignited that she wasn't ready to extinguish. That night, she dreamed of colors, canvases, and a new life where she herself was the protagonist, not a shadow of someone else. However, the next morning, an unexpected message appeared on her phone. Richard wanted to see her again. He said he wouldn't give up so easily, that he still believed in their love. Anna felt a tightness in her chest. Should she give him another chance? Anna stared at Richard's message on her phone, her fingers hesitating over the keyboard. His promise that he wouldn't give up so easily echoed in her mind, muddling the thoughts that had once seemed clear. Should she listen to what he had to say? Part of her was tired of the struggle, but another part, perhaps out of years of habit, still hesitated to cut him off completely. She took the day to think and decided that if he wanted to talk, she would do it, but under clear conditions. Anna scheduled the meeting at a cafe near the town, far from where she lived, almost as if she wanted a neutral territory for what was to come. She would arrive first and leave if he didn't respect her rules. At the cafe, sitting at a corner table, Anna watched the people around her while she waited, her mind drifting between memories and uncertainties about the future. When Richard finally walked in, she felt a familiar pang in her stomach, a mix of nostalgia and hurt, and realized how difficult it still was to see him without being shaken. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me, Anna," he said as he sat down. He looked at her with an intensity she knew well, as if trying to break through the barriers she had carefully built since the divorce. "Richard, I'm only here because I need to put this to rest once and for all," she asserted, surprising herself with the firmness of her tone. He looked surprised but nodded. "I know, but please, just hear me out. I know I did everything wrong, that I hurt you more than I can repair, but since you left my life, I've realized I've lost a part of myself. I made mistakes I can't even explain, and I lost you because I was selfish and blind. I know all of this, Richard. But what do you want from me now?" Her words came out cold, almost automatic, as if she already knew what would come next. He took a deep breath, as if gathering courage. "I want to try again, Anna. I want a chance to fix what I destroyed. I know this is asking a lot, but I can't just move on knowing I left the best part of my life behind." Anna remained silent, feeling a mix of disbelief and exhaustion. She looked out the cafe window, her thoughts swirling in her mind. She remembered the years she dedicated to their marriage, each time sacrificing a piece of herself for him to pursue his own dreams and whims, always believing it would be worth it in the end. But that time was gone, and the Anna of today was no longer the same. "I don't know if there's room for that, Richard," she finally said. "I've been alone since you left, and I've learned to live with it. It hasn't been easy, but I'm discovering who I am. And who I am now may not need you anymore." He lowered his head, visibly affected. "I understand, but I just wanted you to know that I still love you, Anna." His words struck her with unexpected force. But instead of feeling tempted to go back, Anna found herself thinking of David and how he encouraged her without demanding anything, without suffocating her dreams. With David, she felt free, not chained to the past. Anna took a deep breath and looked Richard in the eyes, this time without hesitation. "Maybe it's time for both of us to move on, Richard. I'm not the woman you once knew anymore. And honestly, I don't want to be her." Richard seemed to understand, or perhaps he realized there was nothing more to be said. He nodded with a sad smile and got up. "I'll respect that, Anna. But if you ever change your mind, I'll be here." She watched him walk away, knowing that was the true ending to everything they had lived. With a sigh, Anna finally felt free. She knew she had made the right decision. Back in town, the first thing she did was seek out David. He was in the studio, engrossed in a new canvas, but as soon as he saw her, he noticed something different about her. "I see you finally found some answers," he remarked, needing no explanation. Anna nodded, a light smile appearing on her face. "Finally. I needed this. For me." David smiled and approached, gently holding her hands. "And now, Anna? Now that you're free, what do you want to do?" Anna looked at him, feeling the intensity of the moment. For a second, she felt fear about giving in to something new, but then she remembered everything she had overcome and what she had achieved for herself. She smiled and said, with a newfound firmness, "I want to start over, David. I want a life where I am my own priority. And I want to discover where that will take me." He simply nodded, taking his time to define what was blossoming between them. Together, they began to paint a new canvas, the one of a life that, for the first time, belonged solely to Anna. The days that followed were a blend of discovery and peace for Anna. The decision to free herself from the past and embrace her new life made her see everything with a refreshing clarity. Every morning, when she woke up, she felt light, as if the last few years no longer defined her. Her visits to the studio with David became a constant, a safe space where, stroke by stroke, Anna explored her dormant feelings and dreams. One afternoon, while they painted in silence, David finally broke the quiet with a question that surprised her. "Anna, have you ever thought about showcasing your work?" She laughed, a bit embarrassed. "Showcase? I don't know if I'm ready for that. I never thought anyone would be interested in what I paint." David looked at her seriously, a determined glint in his eye. "You have so much more to show than you realize. Art is a reflection of your journey, of your scars and victories. What you put on those canvases is your soul." Anna fell silent, absorbing his words. There was something about David, a confidence in what he said, that made her believe, too. Perhaps showcasing her work would be a way to show the world, and herself, that she was capable of much more than she had ever imagined. "Think about it," David said with an encouraging smile. "I'm sure that when you're ready, your art will touch many people." Days passed, and the idea of showcasing her paintings lingered in her mind. She began to work with more dedication, losing herself in colors and forms. Each canvas seemed to capture a part of her that had been stifled for so long. David's studio became a home, a place where she could truly be herself. Then, one day, while painting alone in the studio, she received an unexpected message. It was from a mutual acquaintance from one of the art events David had taken her to, a gallerist named Clara. She had seen one of Anna's paintings in David's studio and was interested in discussing a possible exhibition. Anna read the message several times, unable to believe it. Showcasing her work? It felt like a distant dream, but now was right in front of her, a real possibility. David was excited by the news, encouraging her to accept. "It's your moment, Anna," he said, his eyes filled with pride. "Show the world what you've created." After a long night of reflection, Anna accepted Clara's invitation to organize a small exhibition of her works. It was a risky step, but she knew she was ready. With David's support, she dove into the preparations, every detail reflecting a bit of her journey of self-discovery. On the day of the exhibition, Anna felt a mix of anxiety and excitement. The gallery was packed, and her paintings, hanging on the walls, were being admired by people she barely knew, yet who seemed to resonate with something of their own emotions in her canvases. As she walked among the guests, she was overwhelmed by a sense of pride. Each painting was a part of her story, a piece of Anna that refused to be erased by the past. There were vibrant canvases representing the freedom she had rediscovered, and darker ones reflecting moments of pain and overcoming. In the crowd, David watched her from a distance, a subtle smile on his face. He approached when he saw she had a moment alone, offering her a glass of wine. "It's all incredible, Anna. You did it," he said, and his eyes sparkled with pride. Anna smiled, feeling grateful for everything he had done for her. "I never would have managed it without your support, David. Thank you for believing in me, even when I doubted myself." "The strength has always been there, Anna," he replied, gently touching her hand. "I just helped you see what was already within you." Their moment was interrupted when Clara approached to praise the works and comment on the success of the exhibition. Many attendees were interested in purchasing her paintings, and Clara was delighted by the public's reaction. "You've truly found your voice, Anna. Your works touch people like few can." Anna felt a wave of emotion. She sensed that, finally, something inside her had healed. The evening continued with compliments and questions from the guests, but as the exhibition came to a close and everyone began to leave, David asked her to take a walk through the city under the soft glow of the streetlights illuminating the empty streets. "And now, Anna, what do you want moving forward?" he asked as they walked side by side. Anna smiled, looking up at the starry sky. "I want to keep discovering who I am, David. I want to continue painting, learning, living. And maybe I want to share this with someone." David stopped and looked deeply into her eyes, a new intensity shining in his gaze. "And can I be that someone?" Her heart raced, but this time without fear. She was ready. "Yes, David. I think so." In the days that followed the exhibition, Anna felt different. There was a lightness in her steps, a new spark in her eyes, and David, always by her side, had become more than just a friend. He was a constant presence that enveloped her in calm and intensity at the same time. Together, they explored the city, exchanged confidences, and shared moments that grew increasingly significant each day. They spent hours in the studio, where they not only painted but also talked about life, the future, and the dreams each carried. One morning, while she watched a new canvas come to life under David's skilled movements, Anna realized how much he represented a true break from everything she had known before. "You make me see life in a way I never thought possible," she confessed, her eyes fixed on David's brushstrokes. "And you remind me why it's worth fighting for what you love," he replied, with a smile that conveyed more than words could express. However, there was something Anna couldn't ignore. Richard was still in town. Since their last conversation, he hadn't reached out, but Anna felt his presence lingering in her life, a reminder of who she used to be and everything she had overcome. Although she was certain there was no longer any room for him in her heart, his presence troubled her in a way she couldn't explain. One afternoon, while they strolled through the city, Anna spotted Richard in the distance. He was sitting on a bench in the square, alone, his gaze lost on the horizon. She felt a pang of sadness seeing him in that position. A man who had once been the center of her life now seemed so distant and empty. David noticed the change in her expression and followed her gaze to Richard. "Do you want to talk to him?" David asked, his voice soft and free of judgment. Anna paused for a moment, but then shook her head.
"No.
We've said everything we needed to say. He chose a path that no longer includes me, and I've made my own choices now." David nodded, and without another word, he took her hand and guided her away from the square. He led her to an open field on the outskirts of the city, where the sky seemed to stretch infinitely, and the hills around were covered in wildflowers. They sat on the grass, watching the sunset paint the horizon in shades of orange and pink. Anna allowed herself to relax, feeling completely at peace beside him. "When I'm with you, everything seems to make sense," Anna said suddenly, turning to face him. "It's because you've finally found what you were looking for," David replied, intertwining his fingers with hers. "Richard is part of who you were, Anna. But who you are now is what matters." She nodded, feeling his words settle into her heart. The Richard she had known and loved was part of a chapter that had closed, and the new chapter she was writing now included David, and, above all, included herself as the protagonist of her own story. In that moment, beneath the vast and colorful sky, Anna realized she no longer needed to run from the past. The love she had found for herself and the courage that had emerged from her suffering had prepared her to live a new love, one that respected her freedom and essence. David looked at her with the calm expression that enchanted her so, and gently kissed her. It was a kiss filled with promise, respect, and connection. Anna felt whole, as she had never felt before. She was finally free to love again, but this time, she was loving herself first. That night, as they returned to the city, they decided to toast to Anna's new life, to the love they were discovering together, and to the future they were ready to build. The restaurant they chose was quiet, with only a few people around, creating an intimate and tranquil atmosphere. To new beginnings, David toasted, raising his glass. "To who we are and who we will become," Anna added with a smile. But as she lifted her glass to toast, she spotted, across the restaurant, the familiar figure of Richard, looking at them with an expression that mixed surprise and desolation. Anna paused for a second, feeling a slight tension, but seeing that David didn't look away, she realized she no longer needed to fear. Richard was watching her silently, realizing that this time, Anna was completely out of his reach. Anna greeted him with a brief nod and then turned back to David, who was waiting for her with his usual smile. In that moment, she knew with certainty that the past had been left behind and that her heart was finally where it had always belonged, in the present, where love, art, and freedom awaited her. In the days that followed, a new tranquility settled into Anna's life. The sense of closure after her last meeting with Richard had finally liberated her. There were no more doubts or hesitations. The past had remained where it belonged, and with each moment spent with David, Anna felt she was building something real, based on mutual trust and acceptance. Her paintings now seemed to capture a subtle joy, a serenity she had never experienced before. David and Anna became part of each other's lives in a natural and harmonious way. They laughed together, shared ideas, and, above all, made space for each other to grow and explore their own passions. One day, while they were walking through the city, Clara, the gallery owner who had organized Anna's exhibition, approached them with an unexpected proposal. "Anna, your exhibition was a success, and I have a new idea to propose," Clara said excitedly. "I'm putting together a group show in Lisbon next month, and I really want you to participate." Anna was taken aback. To exhibit her paintings in an international gallery? That felt like an even more distant dream than her first exhibition. "But, Lisbon? I don't even know if I'm ready for something that big," she replied, still processing the idea. David smiled at her hesitation. "You'll never be ready until you try. And you know what they say about art, Anna? It's when it's exposed to the world that it reveals its true impact." Clara nodded, reinforcing David's words. "Your paintings are incredible, Anna. I wouldn't insist if I didn't believe you deserve to be there." Anna felt a mix of fear and excitement. There was a time she wouldn't have deemed herself capable, but now something inside her said she was ready for this new step. She looked at David, seeking his approval, and he held her hand, offering the silent support that always gave her strength. "Then yes," Anna said, with a confident smile. "I'll go to Lisbon." The following month was a whirlwind of preparations. Anna dedicated herself intensely to new canvases, each representing a different phase of her journey, a piece of life she now wanted to share with the world. David helped her, offering insights on colors and compositions, and together they created a collection that was vibrant and unique. Arriving in Lisbon, Anna was enchanted by the city, its cobblestone streets, the distant sound of fado, and the blue sea that seemed to embrace her dreams with a warm hug. The exhibition took place in a historic gallery where artists from all over the world showcased their works. The room where her paintings hung had a serene air, as if it told the story of a woman who had been reborn. On opening night, Anna walked nervously through the hall, watching visitors observe her works with interest. She felt vulnerable but also knew this was an essential moment, the pinnacle of her transformation. David watched her from afar, respecting the moment that belonged solely to her. He knew this was the closure of one chapter and the beginning of another. At one point, a woman approached Anna and began to praise one of the most vibrant paintings in the collection, a canvas depicting a field of colorful flowers with a vast, clear sky above, symbolizing Anna's freedom and new life. "This piece touches me in a special way," the woman said, her eyes shining. "It conveys a deep peace, as if painted by someone who has learned to let go." Anna smiled, feeling emotional. "It has," she replied, looking at the canvas with pride. "It has." By the end of the night, after everyone had left, David approached Anna. They stood in silence, looking at the paintings and the now empty space that was filled with meaning. "You did it," he said, wrapping his arm around her. "Not just me," Anna responded, looking at him with tenderness. "We did it. You were my anchor when I was adrift." David kissed her gently, and there, under the dim lights of the gallery, Anna realized that for the first time, she was whole. All her pain, struggles, and fears had transformed into strength and inspiration. She was ready to live fully, beside someone who loved her for who she truly was. As they left the gallery and walked through the quiet streets of Lisbon, Anna knew she had finally found her place in the world, a place where she was free, where her art spoke for her, and where love wasn't a prison but an invitation to soar. And beside David, she knew the future held only new beginnings, adventures, and the promise of a happiness that she now knew she deserved to live. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video. Until the next story.